guys, welcome back to another episode of That's Disturbing. I'm Gail.
And I'm Daphne.
And we're going to give this another whirl. This is going to be episode 3.
Yep, here we go again. Woo woo. Okay, so I have a fun little thing. Mom doesn't know about it. Hi, Mom. This is how we're going to start the episodes off from now on out. You know, third time's a charm. We're going to get this down. We're going to do this right.
Fingers crossed.
Since we're called That's Disturbing, I'm going to read a fact that makes you go, oof, that's disturbing at the beginning of every single episode. So, our first fact is that two Scottish surgeons, I can't say that word, two Scottish surgeons originally invented the chainsaw to assist in childbirth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That seems bad.
Yeah, right? We use those to, cut down trees. I mean, people still use them to cut up bodies these days. But I feel like the intent wasn't to cut up bodies in completion back then. It was just to get the baby out and keep moving.
Yeah, it seems a little extreme.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely made you go,
oof. Right? Okay, thanks, Daph. Thanks for that. Much
You're
appreciated
so
for catching me off guard as well.
Yes, absolutely.
There we go. Okay, guys, so I'm going to do an episode called Haunted Denver Metro. And we're going to start with Riverdale Road. So Riverdale Road is an 11-mile stretch of road, and it's considered to be one of the most haunted roads in America. So it's between Denver and Thornton, or bridges Denver and Denver. Thornton is north of Denver. So, and it's kind of rural out there, but it's also city. So this seemingly innocent road, and it's curvy. It's a curvy 2-lane road too.
It's like a country road.
It is like a country road, but it also has some city intersections. It's kind of a weird space. But anyway, so this seemingly innocent road is combined with city intersections and rural areas, and it's literally named the Gates of Hell because an old iron gate that used to be just off the road. Riverdale Road has many macabre legends that have helped to bolster the name.
It's creepy.
It's super creepy.
Gates of Hell.
The Gates of Hell.
Located in Thornton, Colorado.
Right. Well, to be fair.
Between Denver to Thornton. Yeah, right.
Okay.
If you've ever been to that area, I'm sorry.
Nah, no offense to you Thorntonites. Thorntoners. Okay. So there's the story of a man who lost his mind after being possessed by the devil and set his own mansion on fire with his wife and children inside, and then disappeared and was never found to stand trial for his crime. Urban legend says that this is the man who built the Iron Gate. I researched the crap out of this and I couldn't find anything to prove that this ever happened, but it is the most prevalent tale associated with the road. So the real story is that there's this abandoned mansion that was overtaken by fire the end of November of 1975, and there were no reported injuries because, as I said, the home was abandoned. It was not occupied. So at some point in the last 50-ish years, this legend grew out of this boring story of this empty house burning down where the remains of this old mansion stood. And so probably some dad or some grandpa or something fucking with the kids made up this story about this.
Spread like wildfire.
Right, exactly. Because if you look up Riverdale Road, this is the most prevalent story about Riverdale Road, and it's not even true. But
scary.
Right. But there are a ton of actual scary stories that are legit that are associated with this road. So I feel like it doesn't need a fake one, but that's the biggest one. So I just had to begin with that.
One associated with it.
Yeah, it comes up on every single thing, but then literally you can't find anything about it.
Huh.
Right?
So that's weird because it's we hear all these things, right? And then somebody just pulled it out of their ass one day. It was just founded on nothing and became something. That's so weird.
Hence an urban legend.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's true. I was going to say something backhanded. Everything stems from something, but I guess that's what it stemmed from.
Right. And to my point. Okay, moving on. So, there are reports on nights with a full moon of passerbys seeing slaves that were swaying from trees where they were hanged when they were alive, and then these visions of people hanging, these slaves hanging from the trees, are accompanied by shouting of men. So people hear men shouting, and like these people are swinging from the trees. Men? I don't know what kind of men. Probably the men that hung them, like it's some kind of party. Because you know how lynchings were like a big family affair, and everybody was like, yeah.
Right, the whole town would show up to a lynching.
Right, exactly. So
it was a big public affair.
Right, but that's legit. Like people see that. Like that's many people say that they have seen on a full moon. People.
Okay, remind me never to drive out there on a full moon. I will not be driving through Riverdale Road on a full moon. I don't want to see that. I don't know what I would do if I saw that.
Keep driving.
Yeah. I'm not getting out of the car to help.
Right, for sure. For sure. So, and then while you're driving and you're continuing to drive, don't be goaded into racing with a Phantom Camaro with one headlight who pulls up next to drivers and wants to race them and then disappears into thin air. And this is the spirit of a driver who crashed his Camaro in the 1970s. And again, this is tons of people say that they have seen this Camaro, and like it's like up next to them going vroom, 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 you know, and then
revving his engine.
Yeah, and then gone, just gone.
Ugh,
right?
I don't like that. Like even in the slide, I don't know which I don't like more. That was a really improper way to speak English. But between the lynchings and people seeing slaves hanging and hearing voices, or a ghost car, I don't know which I don't like more, because they both freak me out.
Okay, well, and that's why I don't think you need a fake story about the road, because then I'm going to continue on and tell you a handful more things that are also...
More things I won't like?
More things you won't like, yep. So there's a ghost jogger who was hit and killed on Riverdale Road, obviously while he's out jogging. And people who are out like for a stroll say that they hear the sound of someone running up on them. And then when they turn around to acknowledge that somebody's behind me, hey, I'm going to get out of your way, whatever, there's no one there. And then some people claim to hear the sound of a loud racing heartbeat with the sound of the footsteps.
Ugh.
So that's like, that gave me chills when I said that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Right? I think that one I liked the least.
That like made my like throat sink into my stomach.
Yeah. That one
like,
definitely gave me
that feeling.
Goosebumps when I said it, read it.
Could you imagine that?
No.
I don't want to.
Right?
But
I don't.
Simply speaking. So, you said this happened in the 70s that this person got hit?
No, that was the Camaro. The Camaro was wrecked in the 70s. I don't have a time frame for the jogger.
What I'm picturing is some, like, Napoleon Dynamite outfit on this jogger.
Wow. Way to disrespect the dead, dude.
Some, like, Napoleon Dynamite outfit. And his heart's racing because, you know, Napoleon Dynamite's awkward. And this ghost is obviously awkward, too, if, like, you turn around and you're like, oh, sorry. Oh, you're not there. Okay.
Right. So I don't know why you're picturing Napoleon Dynamite when nobody's ever seen him. You only hear
I don't know why.
Nobody ever said he was like a goofy looking jogger. So wearing moon boots, voting for Pedro.
It's just what comes to mind. I'm sorry, I've never heard of this before.
Right? Well, that's why I'm telling you. I'm telling you all about it right now. Okay. And there's the ghost of a young boy who haunts the road, who was hit by a car and killed on his way to school, which is so sad. It breaks my heart. He leaves bloody handprints on street signs and spells out, "Help me." And these can only be seen at night, and by the morning they're gone. So people will like say that they like drove by and saw them while they were driving at night. And then like the next day when they drive the same path or whatever, they're not there anymore.
Okay, so what I'm thinking at this point is that perhaps we take a road trip up and down Riverdale Road, but we're not doing it on a full moon.
Nope, I think a full moon's the way to go.
I think it's not.
I do.
Because now that I'm sitting here thinking about this, I think it's the slaves who scare me the most. The people being lynched.
Oh, yeah, that's... Well, wait, listen to this. This is even worse or scarier. Is this
another full moon?
No. Well, this is like an all-the-time thing. So this is a whenever thing. There's no designation of a cycle of the moon.
Reoccurring one?
Right. There's no designation for cycle of the moon in this segment. This is an area where for hundreds of years it was said that indigenous people in the form of shapeshifters how do you like your shapeshifters there? Can't even say it, but I don't like them. Roam the land, and because this area now has a road running through it, they appear on the road. And, shapeshifters are known for taking on many different forms and are able to communicate in various ways with people. So, like, I don't know, that super creeps me out because you could, like, somebody could, like, flag you down and need help or something, and it's, like, a shapeshifter. Or, like, it could be, like, an animal hit on the side of the road or something, and, of course, you know me, I'm going to stop and make sure that, like, it's okay, it's not dead or doesn't need help, can be saved or whatever, and it's a shapeshifter. Oof, super creepy.
Yeah, I think we should dive into that for an episode, some shapeshifters.
Sure.
Talk about them.
Sure.
Just because I'm thinking, like, what comes to my mind is the fact that we've seen Supernatural before, and those kinds of shapeshifters, right? And then I'm like, ooh, are they going to kill me and steal my body and shift into me and be like me, like hitchhiking on the side of the road as a shapeshifter, but it's not really me and I'm dead somewhere because the shapeshifter took over my shape and is hitchhiking
and is shifting in you.
It took over my shape as me until it finds a dead deer on the side of the road then does that.
Okay.
Drops my skin.
Oh, that's a skin walker sucker thing. That's different.
I think that's also a shapeshifter.
I don't know. I think you're going to have to research Supernatural to find out.
So that's what I'll be laying in bed watching tonight, researching Supernatural.
Right. So I think we need to get back on track here.
Okay. Reel it back in, Daphne.
Reel it back in. Exactly. And, okay, last but not least, no haunted road would be complete without the ever-present ghostly figure walking on the side of the road. And as per usual, she's a woman who's dressed in white. And drivers say that she appears in their rearview mirror. So, like, they've already passed her. They don't see her when they're going this way, when they're going forward, but they look in the rearview mirror, and then there she is in the rearview mirror. So they're like, oh, crap, I should probably pull over and help this poor stranded lady on the side of the road, right? And so when they offer her a ride or, like, they roll down the window or whatever, she's gone. And some people even say that she, like, reaches to grab the handle of the door, and then she's just gone. And again, chills. I got chills up my neck when I said that. So, and some people say that it's the wife of the man who killed his family, but since that didn't really happen, we don't know who this woman is. But a lot of people say that this is legit, that this woman in white. And I feel like that's a pretty common story.
The woman in white?
Yeah. But
on the road.
On the road, yeah, for sure. I mean, usually it involves a cemetery. But that being said, Riverdale Road, with all the lynchings and Indians, and it probably is a burial ground of some sort.
I was going to say it definitely is a graveyard. I believe that there's a graveyard on Riverdale
Road. Oh, yeah, there is a graveyard on Riverdale Road. That reminds me. Okay, yes, you are correct. So there you go. Woman in white, wrapping up our Riverdale Road story. And, again, paranormal investigators have concluded that Riverdale Road is home to several earthbound spirits. So by several, I don't know what that means. Several's a lot.
So, do you want to know something that I heard last week?
I would love to.
I was talking to, when my friend and I went to go get our nails done, my friend's nail tech, she's Buddhist, and what she was saying was that so how we celebrate Halloween, right? Buddhists, they celebrate in the month of July, the entire month of July for the dead, and they believe that it takes 40 days, or 49 days. It's 49 days, and it's on the 50th day that you realize that you're dead. So those 49 days, you're roaming the earth, not realizing that you're dead. And then that these Buddhist monks, like in the spot where somebody died, will come and talk to the spirit, make sure it gets sent to wherever it's going, and so it's not wandering the streets anymore. This just made me think about that, like, maybe send a couple monks out there.
Right? But I feel like it's also past that 49 days, which might be a window. And maybe if you go past the 49 days, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe you could ask the lady next time you go, and we could get back to that. So, anyway, I'm wrapping up Riverdale Road, moving on to the next little haunted Denver Metro story. This one, I'm it's like a history lesson. So,
okay. Do tell.
Well, it happens because you research this stuff and then, like, you want to know the backstory. So here's backstory. The Peabody-Whitehead Mansion was built in 1889 for a well-known surgeon named William Riddick Whitehead. In his early life, he attended the medical department at the University of Pennsylvania, and after he graduated, he went to Paris for further study. While in Europe, the Crimean War broke. I can't say that. Crimean. The Crimean War broke. And the Crimean War. We asked Google.
We did.
Or Siri. The Crimean War broke, and the year was 1853. This created an opportunity for the young medical student to get some practical experience. So Whitehead went to Vienna, Austria, and signed up with the Russian army as a staff surgeon. And after the war, he was actually awarded the Knight's Cross of the Imperial Order of the Stanislaus by the Russian Czar. So he apparently must have saved a lot of people, or like,
he sounds like an official kind of man,
right? Well, he got something fancy from a Russian Czar. So anyway, so I guess Whitehead had a taste for war, because when he was back in the U.S. In 1961 or 1861, shoot, he's not that old. 1861. He went south and was appointed surgeon of the 44th Virginia, which I'm guessing is like a platoon, and it's the Civil War, so it's the North versus the South. He was left in charge of wounded soldiers while the rest of the troops moved on, and so these were like soldiers that couldn't be transported because they were in super bad shape, and there were hundreds of them because these battles were like bloody, and like people got maimed and like mortally wounded, but not like killed necessarily, and you can't move them, and you're trying to save them, but you're out there like, you know, with primitive care, to say the least, because not only is it 1861, but you're also in the middle of nowhere trying to care for like hundreds of people.
Hundreds of wounded soldiers.
Yeah, mortally wounded soldiers. So people that are bleeding to death have presumably lost limbs, all that kind of stuff.
Ugh.
Like, yeah.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, super stressful. So that being said, surrounding this guy, there's a really high fatality rate, right? So he's in 2 wars trying to save people, and presumably a lot of them don't get saved, you know?
Right.
So now we're going to get back to the haunted part of the story. Done with our history lesson.
Thanks, Teach.
Sure, no problema. The mansion was built for the Whitehead family, as I said, in 1889. It's a spacious place. It's 6,635 square feet. Okay, now that we have answered the phone call. So the house was 6,635 square feet, and it costs like $15,000 to build, which is only like $500,000 today, which, I mean, granted, that's a lot of money, but like in Denver, to build a 6,635 square foot house, that's probably pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
Right, but not saying it would sell for $500,000, but anyway. Okay, so from the very beginning, and this is a brand new house, brand new construction, right?
In 1889.
Yes, exactly. So from the very beginning, there were strange occurrences in the house. The family reported flying books, falling pictures, and extreme disturbances while they slept. It would seem as though
they should have ran.
Well, yes, yes, but it would that the ghosts of the men who died under Whitehead's care were haunting Whitehead himself. So, like, he brought these spirits into this house with him.
Attached to him.
Right. So, and even Whitehead believed it himself. He was convinced. I can't
believe it in it.
He believed it in it. So he was convinced that it was real, that it happened, or that it was legit. Okay, it's 9:00 afterwards. 9:07. It's bedtime. I've been up since 5. Tired. Okay, moving on. So Whitehead died in the home in 1902, and the disturbances stopped for the most part, which led people to believe that the spirits were indeed attached to Whitehead. So after the Whitehead family was gone from the house, a Colorado governor named James Peabody occupied the house for a while he was in office, and so hence the name, the Peabody-Whitehead Mansion, which it's alphabetical order, obviously, because the Whiteheads were there first, so they should be first, but right. Alphabetically. So anyway, neither here nor there. Back to the teaching part. There are no recorded events of hauntings during this time. However, the governor was known to have made many enemies by breaking up labor union disputes with brute force. He was known to be a stubborn man and is thought to be one of the more negative spirits that linger in the home.
Ooh.
Yep.
He's there.
He's there. So
clear.
Right. So in the 1950s through the 1970s, the home was host to a series of restaurants and bars, and employees of these various establishments, so the different bars, different restaurants, different people, different time frames, all report seeing silverware flying around the room, glasses breaking, a baby crying, disconnected phones that are ringing, also service bells that are ringing, because, you know, like in those old houses, like there's like a service bell from like one floor to another, or like from the kitchen to like the dining room or whatever. And so these...
Like our house has?
Well, it's a phone. It's an old phone. But anyway.
It's the same concept.
It is, but, you know, this is fancy mansion thing. Ours is not that.
Ours is not that.
So anyway, and even glimpses of shadowy figures. And this is really creepy here. So according to an article in the Canyon City Daily Record, and Canyon City is southern part of Colorado, so not even close to Denver, like hours away. Just a side note that Peabody had lived in Canyon City at one point in time. So
Canyon City is also right near the Florence maximum security prison.
It is.
Where lots of lovely individuals are jailed for life, the Supermax.
Right, for sure. So anyway, according to this article in the Canyon City Daily Record by Ed Norden, there's a story of flickering lights in a chandelier. And when the electrician came out to fix the problem, he was unable to locate the problem. And in addition to that, he found that the chandelier had not ever even been hooked up to electricity. It was not wired for electricity. It was literally just a hanging chandelier with no wires connected to anything.
Ooh, and it's just flickering on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yep. Don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Right?
This would be my least favorite thing in this.
Well, you know, hey, just moving on. And in the same article, Norden said that Out There, Colorado, which is another publication, reported that in the 70s, while undergoing a remodel, some construction workers kidnapped and raped a young girl who was walking by and then buried her under the foundation of the home. So, yeah, don't like that. Don't like that at all.
That's sad.
There's said to be the ghost of a woman on the second floor. She haunts that second floor. Her name is Eloise. I don't know how they know that, but maybe somebody's communicated with her, like paranormal investigators or whatever, but they call her Eloise.
Maybe that's the gross bodies there.
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it. Like, they don't make connection to that because that was in the 70s, and I think that this Eloise is more like an older spirit, like just the way that they describe her, and I'm not going to go into all that detail, but it sounds like she's more like an early 1900s, 1900s. Okay, again, it's late. And there's the ghost of a young woman who died in the home waiting for her fiance, and she's seen looking out the windows in hopes of seeing her man's come back. She wants to see him.
Aww.
But people like are walking by and they're like, oh, hey, there's a lady in the window. And there's no lady in the window. So, and people even still see that now. And the home's all freaking not boarded up, but it's like fenced off. So.
Where is this at?
It's 1135 Grant Street in Denver. Pretty sure. I didn't put it in the article, but I read it, or in the thing, in my notes, but I read it enough times.
Okay, in terms of directions.
Downtown Denver.
Downtown.
Like, yeah, like 11th and Grant. So, like, not too far from, like, Metro.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's, like, right there.
Well, not exactly right there, but close-ish. More like, like Cherry Creek. Like that area.
Oh, okay.
Okay, got it? All right. Yeah. And there's a basement in the host, or in the, but it's torn. I mean, it's not, you can't get into it. Anyway.
You can look outside.
You can look outside of it. In the basement, there's a ghost waitress there's the ghost of a waitress who killed herself in the home. And there's also the ghost of an older man who haunts the first floor of the women's restroom. And he's accompanied by the strong smell of cherry pipe tobacco. So that would be super creepy if there's like a ghost hanging out in the women's restroom and he's a man and they can see him and he's smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I don't really like any of this, but I thought it would be a fun episode.
Tom ghost.
Right, exactly. He's a voyeur.
No, I'm very much enjoying this. I've never heard any of these things.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're liking it.
I say I don't like it because it freaks me out.
Right.
Like, I am going to be studying up some Supernatural and watching that tonight because guess who's not sleeping? Take a wild guess.
So nowadays, like I already said, the mansion's vacant and it's surrounded by a wire fence, and it was slated to be demolished, but plans to do so were stopped in 2017. And I tried to look up why it was going to be demolished and why it was stopped, and Google literally said, it looks like there aren't many great matches for your search. So I couldn't find anything telling me why, other than that it wasn't. So it's still there, and it's just not occupied.
That's what I'm saying. We should go drive by it one day.
Yeah, we totally could. We could park and even walk and see if we can.
We could do that as well. We could get out of the car and have a look at it.
Yep. We could
I'm
do
curious to know what restaurants were in there.
Oh, I didn't look at that because they're closed now.
What? It's boarded off. There's there's wire fencing around it.
Right.
Nobody can get to it.
Right.
But you say there's a restaurant inside. Must be the most exclusive restaurant there ever.
Yep. You have to be very ghostly to get in. Yeah.
I am. I'm very pale.
There. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's that story. The last one that I have for you is the Lumber Baron Inn and Gardens, which this is in the neighborhood that I grew up in. And so it's kind of like it's close to home, and I've definitely like I've been in this building, and I've been like for like a haunted dinner in this building and like on a ghost tour, and I've been in this building several times.
I don't know if we said this or not, but we're from Colorado.
Oh yeah, we're from Colorado.
Mile high.
Yes.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Or don't, because it's bad for your brain development. Anyway, so the Lumber Baron Inn and Gardens was built in 1890 by John Mowat, who made his money in lumber, hence the name, the Lumber Baron. He was a Scottish immigrant whose company, the Mowat Lumber Company, or Muat.
I would guess it's pronounced like moat.
Moat? It's Mouat.
Yeah, moat.
Okay, Moat. Lumber Company. Oh, yeah, because he's Scottish. That sounds legit. Okay.
Well, do you want to know what happened in my brain when I looked at that? I thought about the word boat, and then I added a U in the center of that. Okay. And I was thinking, it's still probably be pronounced like boat.
Yeah. Good job. Good job. So anyway, this guy, his company was the builder of over 200 buildings in Denver. And so at this time, Denver's just like a little cow town, and it's kind of up and coming because of gold and silver and all the mining and stuff, and people who live in the mountains, which was the capital. Anyway, that's a whole different Oprah. We were not going to go there. But they're starting to build up Denver. So this guy's company is supplying all this lumber for all these homes. So this home was 8,500 square feet, and they used a ton of different kinds of wood in order to like show off his wealth and how fancy he was and stuff. And the wood around every fireplace in the home is carved with like extravagant carvings. They're totally embellished. It's like really, really cute, really like opulent, decorative. And the home was the largest and nicest in this affluent area, and the area is known as Potter Highlands. So, and it is definitely the biggest house there, and it's an inn now. It's not a house, but anyway, it's big. So, the Moat family split their time between Colorado and California. And when John died in San Diego in 1934, the family sold the home to Hiram Fowler, who made his fortune in the mining industry. And people kind of said he was kind of a jerk, but I don't know. I couldn't really find a whole lot about that, but people said that he was kind of an aggressive personality. But anyway, so the Fowler family loved the home and didn't want to part with it, even when the neighborhood became kind of run down, which, yes, it was definitely, it's kind of coming back, but like it definitely was a little.
Is this by your haunted house?
Yeah, by my dad's house, by my house that I grew up in. Anyway, so they moved from the home, but they kept it as an investment property until 1990. And over the years, the home had several owners within the Fowler family, because obviously if they've had it since 1934, people have died. It's passed down. It's probably been willed or bought or whatever. And so during the time the family's not living there, they converted it into a commercial property in order to pay for it, so that they could keep it in the family and like take care of the house, like maintain it or whatever. And they didn't really take care of it and or maintain it, but that was the idea behind it. So at one point it was a business school, and then they turned it into an apartment building around the 1950s. And while an apartment building, the area became more and more rundown and unsafe and had a high crime rate. And then let me also say that to call it an apartment building is probably like a stretch, because it was a place where people just went to like rent a cheap room or a room for a cheap price, because different sources said that the building had 13 to 23 units, and this place couldn't like house 12 or 13 to 23 units, because it doesn't even have that many bedrooms and bathrooms. So it'd be more like a tenement house or something, where people are like renting a room, sharing a bathroom, that kind of thing, but not, I don't know. So it's sketchy. It was not a good neighborhood. Like I said, it's coming back, but you know, and I couldn't really find a definitive answer as to what the whole situation was with the quote-unquote apartment complex, but that's what they called it. Also, the rooms didn't have any deadbolts or anything on them. They just had regular bedroom door locks that were easily opened with butter knives. And so people who lived in the place said that they got stuff stolen from them all the time, because they locked their doors, but it was kind of pointless if you can literally jimmy a butter knife in there and open up the door and get whatever you want.
Yeah, that seems unsafe.
Yeah, right? So this is going to be unsafe. So, the neighborhood had a lot of unsavory people, and the building had a lot of unsavory people. So the two most well-known ghosts of the inn are these female spirits named Kara Knoch and Marianne Weaver. They were killed in Kara's apartment. Kara was just 17 years old, and she was living in this apartment, and she was living apart from her family, who lived in Golden, and she had the consent of her parents to live in this apartment. She dropped out of school and wanted to get out of her parents' home and be on her own, because she's like a free spirit. She's just this girl that, it's the 70s, or it's 1970. Yeah. So, that whole hippie vibe.
The age coming out of the Vietnam War, the protest against the government, the flower child era. Exactly.
So, and her father was quoted as saying that she was independent as all get out, and it got to the point where we felt, rightly or wrongly, that if we didn't allow her to do so and not go along with it, not to stay on good terms with her, that she might possibly run away, and then we wouldn't know where she was. So, like, obviously they didn't want her to drop out of school, and they didn't want her to go live in Denver when they lived in Golden, which is not that far apart, but it's far enough. And so she was just, they were just like, okay, do your thing, but only because they just didn't want to be estranged from her. They were afraid that if they were like, no, you can't. And some stories said that she was a runaway, but she wasn't, because her dad literally, this is like a quote from a newspaper that her dad said this. And so after celebrating, and she's 16. Did I say she was 16?
You said she was 17.
Well, she was 17 at the time of her death, but she was 16 when she dropped out of school. Mm-hmm.
She's a baby.
Yeah. Well, 17's still a baby. But anyway, so after celebrating her 17th birthday at home with her parents, She told them that she had had enough of living on her own in this tiny, not so great apartment neighborhood. And she decided to go back to school and get her diploma. And so she was going to move back home. So she goes back to the place, you know. And the very next day is October 12th, 1970. A man broke into Kara's apartment and raped her and killed her. She fought hard because they found a kitchen knife that had, like, not her blood on it, but she also had defensive wounds and stuff, but she couldn't fend off the attacker. She was killed. And her friend, unfortunately, her friend Marianne stopped by to visit her while the killer was still in Kara's room. And he shot Marianne in the head, execution style, to make the murders look like a drug deal gone bad. And the papers kind of reported that too. That, like, it was like these hippie love children, like, drug deal gone bad, all this kind of stuff.
Right. Drug deal gone wrong.
Yeah, but
Murdered.
it wasn't. So, because they were, I mean, Marianne,
Staged to look that way.
well, and Marianne was a mom. She was only 18 years old, but she was the mother of a young child. She lived in Lakewood with her family, and which is another suburb. And she suburb to the west and south of Denver, but she was in school, and you know, she was just going to see her friend. So anyway, the killer was never caught, and this remains a cold case. And so these are the two most prevalent ghosts that are seen in the mansion, and or in
That's so
in the inn.
sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
That's so sad.
Yeah. And people claim to have seen a young female in what was Kara's apartment. Guests also reported chilling feeling like they are being watched, heard strange noises, and felt unexplained cold spots, and have felt a definite presence when they stay in the Valentine room, which was Kara's room. People say that they have even felt dizzy coming up the central staircase, which leads to that room. Also, there's the ghost of a woman who's dressed in blue from the 1920s, like the flapper area, and she's seen in the ballroom, and she makes noise, so people, like, are alerted to her being there. Sometimes they smell the smell of cigarette smoke after they see her, and there's no smoking in the building, like, at this point in time, you know. So that's you know, that party going girl,
Yeah.
right? Oh, and I should
She's
tell
wilding
you
it
too that paranormal investigators say that when they communicate with Kara and Marianne, and several different ones have had the same story, that they recount their murders, that they go into detail about their murders, but they don't say who killed. And even if they did, like, the cops probably aren't gonna paranormal investigator,
Right.
you know, oh, the ghost said.
Well, I don't know. They listen to psychic mediums all the time.
They do, but I just don't know if that's enough. Especially, I don't know if there's DNA or anything, because like I said, the blood on the knife wasn't Kara's, but they didn't say, you know, it was never solved. It's still a cold case.
Well, yeah, it's the 70s.
Right.
So that would
Well,
make sense. Well, I mean, they didn't have, like, yeah, they gathered DNA at the time, but they didn't have what we have today.
They did not. So anyway, sorry, just circling back to that, because
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't put that, like, in my notes, but then I thought that it was worth mentioning because I read it in several different
absolutely.
places. But then I also didn't want to go down this whole rabbit hole of, like, paranormal investigations and stuff with it, because I was trying to keep this kind of short, which we're already getting kind of long. So I'm going to try to...
No, I think that that's a great piece of information to add, though. And that's crazy that well, you know, that they say that after you die, you still have so much
Unfinished business?
cognition. At, like, up to, like, 10 minutes after you're dead, like, you still have some sort of cognition.
Mm-hmm.
It's your hearing that's the last to go.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, there are ghosts of people who have worked in the home, and they continue to go about their work. These include a female black maid who's dressed in a uniform from the 19th century, as well as a handyman who continues to fix things in the home. There are two more prominent resident ghosts in the home. They're male spirits that are thought to be perhaps the ghost of Hiram Fowler, because like I said, the one of them is kind of a more intense kind of energy, like not necessarily doing anything bad, but it's like a more intense energy. And then maybe the former administrator of a business school, of one of the business schools, or of the business school or something is what they think, because they don't really know who these guys are for sure. The second guy, the one who they really don't know who he is, has made his presence known by appearing, and then he leaves a lingering smell of tobacco. So I don't know if it's like a pipe. They didn't say cigarette, so I'm assuming, smoking a pipe. Like,
cigar.
Yeah.
Some kind of tobacco.
Yeah, exactly. Not a cigarette.
Not a cigarette.
So, but it seems as if none of these spirits are menacing. They just don't want visitors to forget that they're there. So, because nobody says they have like a bad experience, just like a weird, creepy feeling.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just thinking when you said that they don't know who the two gentlemen spirits are, or even if they're, I guess, men.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I think they know they're men.
But that they don't know who they are is probably because the two girls, they died in a horrifically brutal, sudden, violent way, and that they're going to leave behind a more, what's the right word I'm looking for? Like
a bigger imprint?
A bigger imprint. I was going to say residue. Like, if you leave behind residue, like, they're leaving behind more than...
Right.
Yeah,
I don't like the word residue, though, especially not in this case. I feel like an imprint, an impact, like a ripple in the universe.
Yeah, they're leaving a higher ripple.
Yeah.
They're leaving a higher...
Vibration.
They died in a terrible way, and so their imprint on the property, their spirits have a larger presence.
Right. So, anyway, now the mansion has been beautifully restored, and it's a bed and breakfast with beautiful gardens, and it hosts weddings, romantic weekend getaways, afternoon tea, and I was checking out their website, and they have a weekend brunch, which looks pretty tasty. So maybe sometime we can go and see if we could see a ghost or something, because I have been in there for stuff, but it's been 20 years since I've been in that building. So, and they didn't have brunch, and I love brunch because brunch is my favorite of all the meals. Really? I love brunch.
How long has that been happening?
That's a long time.
How long have you loved brunch for? Right? I'm curious.
Yep, breakfast, my favorite, but even better when it's brunch, because then you don't have to eat breakfast and lunch. You can eat them all together.
You can eat brunch.
Anyway, so that's it. That's my haunted Denver Metro, and I'm sure there's going to be more because... As I said, when I'm researching this one guy, and then I'm researching this other guy, and I'm researching this property, I'm researching that, and huge things happen.
I would say that this is a part one.
Probably, yeah, because there's a huge rabbit hole that you can go down of all these different places, and there's even one that's going to be a whole episode, and so that's going to come, and Daphne doesn't know what that is either. But it's so good. And when I kind of mentioned it to a handful of people were like, oh my God, I did not know that. So yeah, I'm writing that one next, and I'm super excited about it. So thank you guys for listening to me again.
Yeah, thanks for conducting this episode, Mom. It was great. Thank you.
Oh,
thanks for sharing these stories that I've never heard of that I'm not going to sleep with tonight.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you.
So I have a Sven snuggle buddy thing that I got at Disney. We'll be holding each other firm tonight, firmly gripping on one another because I can't.
Right.
Thanks, Mom.
Sure.
Have a great night, guys.
All right. Well, take care. Be safe.
Yeah. I hope you sleep.
But. So, no shots should be taken during any of that, or you'll be on the floor in the first 3.5 minutes of this thing.
Yeah, I was coming back in here, but I caught her saying and but, so I was coming back in here to tell everybody, but don't take any shots every time she says, but, because you will die, and they may or may not solve your murder.
And so, whatever. Also, don't say that, or shot that phrase either.
Bye.